So this is CNIT 50 network security monitoring. And all right, good, there's my mouse. And I'll have this arrangement in the classroom set up a little better next time, I hope. There's always little problems. But as most people, I guess, have figured out, you do not need to attend physically, although you're welcome to, and I prefer to. But anyway, and I got my CO2 meter, so I know it's quite COVID safe in here. The air in here is almost as fresh as the air outside. Anyway, so this is a short-term class. It's only going to meet for 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks of the semester. So it's also not a whole lot of material. Now, the point of this class is to deal with advanced persistent threats. Until 2002, Microsoft's official recommendation to protect a network was that you had to have one gateway to the internet, and you would have a filter at that point, an internet gateway or a firewall, and everything inside would be treated as trusted, like all the machines in this room, and you only needed one protection device on the edge. But after 2002, they just realized that was not good enough anymore because people are bringing in unknown files on USB sticks and portable computers and everything else. So even inside your company network, you have no reason to believe those machines are clean. So also, the Chinese government had been hacking everybody for 5 or 6 years at that time. Has started hacking people really seriously in 2004 and 2005. They started hacking American companies and stealing intellectual property on a vast scale. And the industry security experts concealed this because all the companies felt like they didn't want to admit they'd been hacked or their stock price would fall. But when Google expanded to China in 2009 and got hacked by China near Christmas 2009, by 2010 the leaders of Google were so personally offended that they went public with the evidence that China had been stealing their data. And they hacked the Chinese server back and stole all the data back, which, by the way, was also illegal. But, and they found 30 other American companies' data on there, Microsoft, Adobe, and everybody else, and published all this. So everybody knew that the Chinese government had been hacking everybody, and this led to turmoil in the security industry. I went to a conference shortly after that, and all the top executives of the major security companies were there, like McAfee and other ones, and all the CEOs were there saying, all right, we paid you guys hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to buy your top-line security gateway, and the Chinese just blasted through it like it wasn't there. What's going on here? And they had no good answer, but after a few years, they did resolve on what needed to be done. And what needed to be done is a radical improvement in network security. So if you want to eject really dangerous attackers, which are called advanced persistent threats and which are primarily enemy military, or at least hostile military, then you cannot just have one gateway onto your network and trust it to protect you. You have to have layers of defenses, and what the government says is you should move to a zero trust model, where every device on your network, whenever it retrieves or gets a request, it should evaluate that request to see if it looks suspicious or not, and not trust anything, not trust things from your built-in machines, things from your local area network, or anything else. Now, nobody has anything you can buy yet that will fully implement zero trust. But we're all moving in that direction. And one of the major things you have to do is you have to do network security monitoring, which is the point of this course. You have to monitor your network traffic and see if nasty things are going on. All right. And Rouhani, you'll be able to get access to my archive materials with a name and password that you'll find inside the Canvas. Anyway, so that's the point of this course. And when I taught this course before, I used open source products, primarily Security Onion. But Security Onion was very clumsy and hard to use and unreliable, at least when I used it several years ago. Now, I think it's improved by now, but in any case, events have overtaken it, in my opinion. Some people still love Security Onion, which is the open source free product to do network security monitoring, but the industry standard is Splunk. Splunk is a San Francisco company. It's a very expensive product. You can easily end up paying tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in licensing fees to Splunk if you use it in enterprise, but it is the standard. I saw an article that said it was used by 100% of the Fortune 100, at least of a couple of years ago, and they're the 4th highest paying employer in America, I think, or something like that. My friends who work there are ridiculously spoiled and happy. They're rolling in the dough. The product is very expensive and very much worth it. And they also have enough sense to make the free version completely functional. So you can totally have a class like this practicing on Splunk, and you can practice with all the features. The way they do it is you install Splunk, and if you don't pay for it, there are 2 punishments. The first thing is you cannot scan much live network data. but you can scan all the archived old network data you want. And the second punishment is everybody has to log in as administrator. You can't create non-administrator accounts. And that's enough to make it effectively useless in a real enterprise, but it's perfectly good enough for students to practice. So that's awesome. So that's what you should do. If you have a company, you should make the free version available for students so they learn how to use it in class, and then they're ready to use it on the job. And they have become the industry standard. So this is now just a Splunk certification class. However, I got the Splunk Core Certified User Certification, and we're going to use the materials that Splunk published a couple of years ago leading to that certification. But Splunk is changing their certification path and their training materials, and the new materials aren't really ready yet as far as I can tell. So I'm not sure if this entirely maps to whatever the new certification is. But anyway, you learn what you need to learn to have the fundamentals of using Splunk. So that's why the first question I saw in here was, someone says Datadog is becoming popular. Oh, I wasn't aware of that one. I know a few competitors, but I haven't heard of Datadog. Anyway, so, and by the way, feel free to call out any comments or questions that you may have. Anyway, so let me see. My mouse seems to have vanished. Let's see. All right, I'm seeing it there. There, something's, okay. Okay, there's the slides. That's not really what I wanted. Let me try and get there, I got my web page up again. Okay, so anyway, the materials you'll find, now everything you need for this class is on my homepage, samsclass.info. This is where you find everything you need. Now there is a Canvas server available for both City College students and non-City College students. There's different servers, and the point of that's where you can take quizzes and where you can turn in your homework assignments. So there's quizzes, and the chapters are in this material here that you'll find on the CNIT 50 page. So you go to my homepage, samsclass.info, and you click CNIT 50, and then you'll end up here. And if you go down a bit below the schedule is the link for all the class materials. And here's where the class materials are archived. Now there's a name and password required to get in there. And I'm going to write it on the board. It's also in the Canvas shell. Good, this works. That's the username and that's the password. I'm not reading it out loud. I'll give it to anybody that needs it. But if anybody, but I'm just not going to put it out loud in this video because this video is going to be public on YouTube. And technically, I'm not supposed to distribute those materials. As you'll see, there's a mark on them. So I'm distributing them only to my known students and not just to the whole world. So hopefully Splunk won't get mad at me. Anyway, so in there you will find a series of things. And let me show it to you. If you go in there, you'll find, let me make that bigger. All right, here's all the slides I'm going to use for lecture. This is just this PDF series of, they're pretty short modules here. And here's hands-on projects. And module 3 and 4, I think I removed them already. Let me see if I can refresh this. I can't see what I'm doing too well. Is that the refresh button? Nope. All right. How about back? All right. Anyway, the point is these 3 I removed this morning. They should be gone. But module 5 through 6, those are PDFs to guide you through the hands-on projects. So I'm going to start with the lecture explaining what Splunk is, and then I'm going to demonstrate some hands-on projects, which is where I think the real meat of it is. So here's the first couple of chapters here. And all right, so let me just mention the grading, and then I'll make a separate video of talking about the slides. So if I go to CNIT 50 and go to the top, this is how grading works. All there is quizzes and hands-on projects, and there's a lot of extra credit available. So if you get 90% of the required points as an A, 80% should be, and so on. Usual stuff. And by the way, if you need help on anything, which is fairly likely to come up, you can come to any of my classes. What I teach Monday through Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. here in all these different classes, and I'm in Science 37 physically and online at my Twitch channel, which is someplace on this page. Twitch.com/SamBound, I think. Yeah, up there, twitch.tv/SamBound. So you can connect to that any night at 7:30, Monday through Thursday, anytime you need help. So you're not alone. And you can also come to Science 37 physically and find me there. I take any questions from any class there, so you don't need to wait for this class to come around again if you have some kind of problem getting your system working. All right. And if anybody wants to add this class, you can just make an add request in the City College online system, and I will approve it. You don't need an add code or anything. All right. Are there any questions about any of the mechanical stuff? See if there's anything online. Doesn't look like it. All right, let me stop this video and make a separate video with the first lecture, which is going to be